Hey, it's Josh Hewitt. Welcome back to another Straight to the Bar Gym Chats. This is Gym Chat number 253. And tonight I have a guest with me. Sincere Hogan is going to be talking all about recovery and performance and how to optimize your recovery and improve your performance. And he has a wealth of background in training other clients and in competing himself and in training in a number of different challenging situations. We're going to talk about training for athletes, the average gym rat, and training for older adults as they start to get on in a few years, how things change. So we're going to get right into that in a minute. But before we do, thanks a lot for joining us today. I know you're busy there, Sincere Hogan, and I really appreciate you making the time. For those who aren't familiar with your background, would you mind just giving a little bit about how you got into the strength training, what your competitive background is and your training background, and just a little bit of information about yourself?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I didn't even start off in fitness. My career pretty much started off in the entertainment industry. Started off as an on-air personality on the radio, and then eventually moved on to being a club DJ, a rave DJ, cool. And then eventually being one of the early adapters of internet radio, right around the late 90s, before anyone else really thought about it. And in fact, we even had like an offer from a major company from broadcast.com to even buy us out, but being the young pioneers that we were, we said no. But now I look back on that, I'm like, crap, man, should have sold that, because that would have been some Mark Cuban money in my pocket right now, and I probably wouldn't even be on this. I probably wouldn't even be on this gym chat right now. But then one thing about being in that life is that you work very late hours and you end up eating very late. And one thing about being a DJ, when you make people feel good, man, they reward you by what? Buying you drinks. And, so you're constantly drinking late, and then you're getting home late, and you're eating. Everything's all off, and you end up sleeping. It's about 2 or 3 in the afternoon, and then you repeat, do it all over again. Mm-hmm. So pretty soon, all that caught up with me, despite all the hardcore training I did coming out of high school and college. All that went to crap, man, once I got into that industry, and just woke up one day and just really, looked in the mirror on my 31st birthday and realized, like, you know what, I need to do something about this. Who is this guy? I'm looking at the mirror.
It seems like overnight. That's the same when I was like, just look in the mirror, like, who the hell is that?
I was like, who is that? So and then I just made a decision. I was like, and I thought about all my friends who are the same age. At this time, I was like 31, and I started looking at these guys and looking at myself like, I don't want to look like that. I don't want to be the guy that's 31 looking like I'm 51. Exactly. And I just went back, dug up some old programs, man, from college and from high school, and which were a lot of non-bodybuilder type things, man. A lot of compound movements, because I'm in Texas, so football is like religion out here. So there's a lot of great programs that I had from back then and for off season. So a lot of things, did a lot of Olympic weightlifting, a lot of powerlifting in our training, and got back on point. But then somewhere along the way, kind of started mixing in a little bit more of the bodybuilding type stuff, and then I realized, this is not as good for my body as it was in the 20s. I started noticing a lot of imbalances going on and being very susceptible to injury. So focused more on the compound movements, and next thing you know, body started transforming. My friends started noticing, like, dude, what are you doing? So I explained to them what happened, and at that time I really wanted to get out of the music industry, and I was just trying to find myself, like, what's going to be next for me. I'm one of those guys that kind of reinvents himself every 10 years, and pretty much I was already 10 years overdue in that industry. And so my friends were like, dude, you're really good at this. They asked for advice, gave them advice, it started working for them. They're like, you know what, you're missing your calling. You should be in fitness now. So that's what I did. And I saw too many friends in the music industry starting to die. Too many artists were dying because of their health, especially like in the urban music world, like Big Punisher and all those guys were dying of heart attacks. I had DJ friends that were dying of heart attacks because they were just overweight and that lifestyle was getting the best of them. I didn't want to be that guy. 31 is too young to die, in my opinion. 41 is too. So pretty much I also noticed that I had some pre-existing injuries that I didn't know about just from lifting heavy all the time, which is something that we can talk about today. And so I had some shoulder issues just from bench pressing so heavy for all those years, teen years, early 20s. And so I've tried to find a way to rehab that. I'm like just looking for exercises to rehab a shoulder and shoulder stability. And that's when kettlebells popped up. And this was about 2002, 2003 when that popped up, probably in Yahoo at that time. I probably wasn't even using Google at that time. So, and then pretty much, okay, what are these kettlebells? Looked that up, saw the RKC guys. There were a lot of guys back then, and when I looked at them, I was like, oh, I don't think, there's a lot of guys that came from that powerlifting world that transitioned over to kettlebells. And I looked at them, I was like, that's not how I want to look. So, I kept looking, and then Steve Cotter popped up, and I found his kettlebell training for martial arts. And at that time, I was really getting into Muay Thai. So it just really resonated with me. And then, you look at Carter, especially back then, this dude probably had maybe about 5% body fat. He's ripped. He's got muscles. He's swinging his kettlebell around a towel, and he's doing these dragon twists and all this. I'm like, okay, now we're talking. So bought his DVD and kept in touch with him after that, man. I followed up and said, hey, man, great DVD. Love it. And we kept in touch with each other throughout the years. And later on, he left the RKC, started his own organization, the IKFF. And when he got ready to start that, he reached out to me and said, hey, man, I'm getting ready to do the certification. I want to know if you were interested in joining. This is going to be the first one I'm doing here in the U.S. Are you interested? I'm like, hell yeah. So ended up going to that 2000, I believe it was 2008, 2009 in Chicago. So it was like the first team of certified kettlebell teachers for the IKFF. And from there, just kind of transitioned on to getting into kettlebell sport. And also using that to help me with other things, such as the Urban Athlon for Men's Health magazine, Men's Health magazine, and competed in 2 of those back-to-back in Chicago. And yeah, man, just from there, just really started building up my client base and everything else. But as far as my business, started at around 2005. So probably about 3 years after I reached out to Carter and just went from there. And here I am now, taught all over the place and come out with products and everything else, man, and hooked up with some really good guys like Carter, Mike Mahler, and myself doing a podcast now. And all this came from just actually going from knowing these guys as a customer, and then next thing we built a good friendship, and here we are.
Right on.
So yeah, that's about 15 years in a nutshell right there.
Yeah.
Just wrapped up for you.
You got it all in. That's how it happens, though. Things just evolve naturally like that. When it's your calling and it's something you're passionate about, it's not like you got to go to school and what am I going to do? It just evolves like that. So it's cool that you followed that where your heart was leading you, as opposed to where the let me see what is the I don't know. Too many people decide what course going to take at school, what makes me the most money, instead of what am I really good at. Exactly. Yeah. What has security, which is total bullshit nowadays. There isn't no security. You make your own security.
Right.
Right on. So along the way, you learned a lot, and you've helped a lot of other people. So I'm sure you've got some experience related to this that you can share, not only from your own perspective, but what's worked for others. And that's what I want to talk about. Just before I get into it. Recovery is, we're talking about performance recovery. Recovery is a really broad topic. But if you had to sort of, what does recovery mean to you? You talked a little bit about rehabilitating injuries or corrective type exercises to prevent injuries. So what do you think of when you talk about recovery? What does that mean to you?
Well, right now, I just turned 42 about a month and a half ago. So recovery to me now means, how can I remain active without having injuries? Because the thing is, as you start to get older, that recovery time you need to actually mend those injuries takes a little bit longer, and you have to be a lot smarter about it. But the thing is, you want to be smart enough to avoid those injuries. And the thing is, you start looking at that risk versus reward type situation. So a lot of times I see a lot of guys who are now pretty much in their 40s and 50s, and they're moving on up, or their late 30s, and they're still having that mindset of one or two things. They're either training like bodybuilders and still focusing on body parts and having chest day, back day, leg day, and all this, and they're doing a lot of things inside machines and inside the Smith machines and the squat racks, so they're doing all these different things right there. So they kind of have these imbalances going on. They focus too much on the muscles they can see. So what ends up happening, the muscles they can see get neglected, and they end up wondering, why do I have injuries or whatever? And then you have on the flip side of that, you have these guys who look at those guys and say, I don't want to be those guys that train like the bodybuilders. I want to do the big compound movements, and they want to go heavy, heavy, heavy. And they never really take any time off to back off of lifting heavy. They always pretty much are pursuing that 1 rep max constantly and getting closer and closer to it, but those reps are too high a lot of the times. If they're going at about 85% of the 1 rep max, they're going for like 8 to 12 reps of that, and they're going like 6 or 7 or 8 sets of that. I'm like, why? So especially if you're doing something like deadlift, well, guess what? By the time you make it just like to that last set, you have nothing left in your tank. Your form is gone to crap, and mentally you're checking out because your central nervous system is fried. And they don't really think about that, but there's this ego thing that says, I want to get big, I want to lift big, so I got to keep going big. I got to go hard and go home. Well, eventually you're going to end up going home, and probably an old folks home before you know it. So you got to ask yourself, okay, why am I trying to do this? What do I have to prove? So, and you also got to look at, okay, the same way that you approach a training program, you need to also give an equal amount of attention to a recovery program. And a lot of times people think that recovery means I just need to stop doing everything, and that's the reason why they don't want to do it. Well, that's not true. You know, even if you just take, you know, a walk, you know, what I call a meditative walk, where you don't take your phone, you don't take your headphones or anything like that. You're not listening to music. You just walk, man. All those things do so much for your recovery. You just take a walk every day, especially a good 30 to 60-minute walk after you train hard. You know, you're doing a lot for recovery right there. You're doing a lot for your growth hormone right there. Always understand that when you're in the gym, you're not building muscle at that time, man. You're tearing stuff down. So the thing is, you end up building it back up, man, with what you're doing in the kitchen when you get home and also when you go to sleep. And so many people are so sleep deprived these days, and a lot of times because we have so many distractions now. We're always attached to the blue screen of death, meaning television, computers, our cell phones. All the stimulated light continue to tell our bodies that it's daytime 24/7, and we're jacking up. Yeah, exactly. So we're jacking up our circadian rhythm. So therefore, next thing you know, it leads to adrenal fatigue. Growth hormone is not doing what it should. Hormones are all jacked up. So it's just really hard to really get that rest that's needed in order to get those gains and that recovery that you truly need. So that's just one of the things I'm more focused on now, is just really recovering in those type. I'm more focused on recovery and joint mobility and things like that to keep my body resilient than actually lifting the weights themselves or actually doing the training itself.
Well, and that's the majority of the time that we're spending getting our gains should be recovery time. It should be actually comparatively small amount of time we intensely work on training. But you're right, exactly right. A lot of people are reluctant to take time off or to allow their proper recovery because they think they're going to lose gains. When in fact, that's exactly what they're probably missing to get that better results.
Yeah, you can't lose what you don't have, man. That's what they have to remember.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you got to get time to get it. Get your gain. Yeah, exactly. You touched on sleep is a huge one. That's I was talking before we started. That's one of my weak points too. And you talked a lot about for older guys is we have to really, I think, well, people should pay attention to their recovery all the time, but especially as you get older, this becomes more important. The injuries and imbalances that may have already been there, that accumulating over the years, will start to really present themselves. We don't have necessarily as high levels of testosterone or growth hormone. So I mean, just the accumulation of this abuse on our bodies and the adrenal overdrive can really take its toll. So definitely that's something for older people. How does this compare to younger people or higher level trainees or athletes potentially? What other considerations would you have related to recovery for, say, an athlete or someone who's competing?
Well, definitely when it comes to athletes, they really have to think about exactly what it is that is their more sport-specific style of training. And they got to understand, like, here's the difference. So what really happens with a lot of the common everyday Joe and Jane that's pretty much coming off the couch and just pretty much just need to get into a just regular fitness or some type of physical training program, they tend to always try to pick up on some type of training program that an athlete would follow. And even when it comes to how they eat. So they want to sit there and have, the average Joe or Jane wants to have 6 meals a day every 3 hours. But my thing is, if you're not a competitive athlete who's burning all those calories, why are you eating all those calories? You can sit there and you can take all the protein you want. It's not going to necessarily help you because too many calories is too many calories. And your body's going to use that food for two things, fuel, or it's going to use it for fat. So the thing is, you got to make a decision. So you need to always think, like, before you put something in your mouth, okay, how is this going to benefit me within the next 2 to 3 hours? How is this going to help me? So, and if you're constantly eating, your poor digestive system is just, man, it's sucking wind, it's working hard. So if you're eating every 3 hours, every 2 hours, as soon as your digestive system is trying to break down whatever you had just now, then 3 hours later, you about to sit there and stuff it with another meal, it's not finished breaking down the last meal. So basically, you're working it like a slave. It never gets a chance to rest, except when you finally do go to bed. And 9 times out of 10, you won't get a good night's sleep. It's probably really hard for you to really go to sleep because your digestive system is working so hard from all those meals you've been eating. It's hard for your body to start resting and really get yourself into a mode of going to sleep. So one thing about it, if your digestive system is active, guess what? You're going to be active. And no matter how tired you are, you just can't shut your eyes, man. So let's just say you finally go to bed. But while you're lying there, man, you're tossing, you're turning, it's not comfortable. Or if you fall asleep, you end up waking up 2 or 3 hours later, you're getting up, you're going to the restroom, or you just can't get comfortable.
Or you go to the fridge, you got a midnight snack.
Well, that bro science right there. You don't want to lose any gains in your sleep. Set your alarm, man. Wake up every 4 hours and eat. So the thing is, what you're doing, you're jacking yourself up, man. And like I was saying, when you sit there and all you're doing is eating, your digestive system has to work really hard. So when it finally gets a chance to not be interrupted is when you're trying to go to sleep. But guess what? It's working hard while you're sleeping. So if it's working hard, it wants your body to be up working with you. So you can't rest right now because it can't rest. So what guys really and ladies need to understand, and I know this goes against everything that's being sold to you in all the fitness magazines, because guess what? They need to make money off supplements. So that's why they tell you to eat every 2 or 3 hours. But you do yourself a lot better if you space your meals out about 4 to 6 hours apart and give your digestive system time to rest. So I know some people already rolling their eyes like, man, please, I'm going to starve. I'm going to lose my game.
I'm going to be catabolic. My muscles are going to break down.
Yeah,
I don't eat every 2 hours. They're going to break down.
Exactly. Well, yeah, if you're living off protein shakes, then, I can see why you're probably worried. But the thing is, if you eat nutrient-dense food, you're not going to want to eat probably for another 5 or 6 hours anyway. So otherwise, you're just pretty much just eating to be eating. You're not actually hungry, and you're not giving leptin, the break that it needs to let you know, like, hey, we're full. So that's what ends up happening. A lot of people are they have a lot of leptin resistance because they're constantly just eating and eating and eating and not learning that their body is full or knowing when they're full, or they're eating a bunch of crap, and even a lot of supplements and protein bars and all that with all these sugars and all these additives or whatever. Your body's not recognizing this stuff as food. So guess what? You are constantly hungry every 2 or 3 hours. But if you really eat some nutrient-dense food, trust me, you don't want to eat for about 4 or 5 hours, man, at the least. And that's a good thing, because let's think about animals. Animals for the most part, not domesticated animals that we feed, but animals themselves. Let's just take, for instance, a dog. Well, not a dog, but like a lion in the wild or something like that. Basically, they may eat once a day if they're lucky. One thing about it, I don't think a lion is hurting for muscles, and strength and power and speed. Same thing with, gorillas.
And it depends if it's a meat eater or animals like cows. They do graze, but they're eating grass all day.
But how active are cows though? The cows can graze.
How many stomachs they got? They got 4 guts.
Yeah, but the thing about them, they're not running around. They're not running around chasing food either. So I'm talking more about animals who are active, and that's what we try to mimic and say we're animals, and we want to be like that. So let's look at the animals that are active. They can make it. Pretty much they get in, they get sprints in. They're not doing long, drawn-out cardio where they're running for miles upon miles all at the same time. So because otherwise they just wouldn't. They don't have the energy to do that. So, but the thing is, if they sit there and if a lion eats an entire antelope, well, guess what? When a hyena's coming after him, or something like that, and there's another predator chasing the lion, if he's full off antelope, he can't run very fast. So the thing is, he eats just enough. They know. They have that instinct. And the thing is, we've lost that leptin, that connection with leptin to let us know, like, hey, we're full, because we're not eating real food anymore for the most part. We're eating all this crap that's supposed to be helping us with our nutrition and also with our physical training and all that, but it's actually not.
Exactly, and also, like you said, we're distracted. We're always distracted by technology or some, like you said, the blue screen or text coming in or something that we're working on while we're eating. People are eating while they're driving, eating while they're watching TV, eating while they're in front of the computer. How can you expect to know if the satiety is set in or if you're full when you have the constantly distractions? You're just putting food in out of habit, and it takes time to know if you're full too. So I totally agree. Based on that, not to interrupt, but on the same theme, what's your opinion on intermittent fasting? Because this was sort of tie into what you're talking about with like taking basically your sleep break where you have breakthrough and extending it a little longer, so you actually don't eat for a little while before going to sleep or for a while after waking up, to give your digestive system a break. And some people say it may help for growth hormone levels. What's your opinion? Do you have any opinion on intermittent fasting?
Yeah, here's my thing. The majority of people asking about intermittent fasting should be focusing more on sleep. Because my thing is, if you're getting 7 to 9 hours of sleep, well, you've already got a 7 to 9 hour fast already happening right there. Yeah. And so my thing is, most intermittent fasting, they're saying, it's pretty much I'll eat and then I won't eat again for another 12 to 16 hours. Well, my thing, and a lot of people think it's very hard to do that. Like, I don't know how they can do that. Well, if you're spending 7 to 9 hours sleeping, it's not really that much harder to wait another 6, 7 hours before you eat again. Especially if you get up, you get a lot of people are dehydrated, and a lot of times they think they're starving, but they're actually dehydrated. And so if you're sitting there, and one of the things I have when I work with my nutrition clients, when I do nutrition coaching, one of the first things I do to kind of help them get their digestive system back in order is I tell them as soon as they wake up, first of all, always have that mason jar full of lemon water right there waiting. And they okay, what's that for? I said, well, a lot of times, you know, especially for people who wake up and they need coffee or something like that, they probably suffer from adrenal fatigue, and they're also, I mean, it's all shot. So if you wake up and you still feel tired, you have adrenal fatigue. You should be waking up ready to go, man, no matter what. Whether you want to go to that job or not, you still should have the energy to do so. So one thing about having that lemon water, man, it puts you in an alkaline state. It gives you energy, it supercharges you, it flushes you out, really helps your digestive system get going first thing in the morning. And so by having that, man, putting it right there by that nightstand, before they put their feet on the floor, I tell them, drink that lemon water. You know, add a little, you know, pink sea salt to it as well. So therefore, you have some minerals in there as well. Exactly, with the minerals, exactly. So because most people are mineral deficient, they're very mineral deficient. So when you drink that, trust me, by the time you get your feet on the floor and you're walking to the bathroom, you're ready to go to the bathroom. That's going to be your first stop, and it's going to flush you out. A lot of people, they only sit there and have a bowel movement maybe every 1 to 4 days. I'm like, that's not normal. I'm like,
I know, I heard that.
I have about 4 to 5. I have about 4 to 5 in a day, and they're like, oh my God, that's just weird. I'm like, no, that's normal, because that means whatever I'm eating is on its way out. So whatever I'm eating now it has room to come in. It should be like that. It should be like the Flintstones. You see the beginning of Flintstones when Fred comes to work, the one guy's checking out as Fred is checking in. That's how your poop should be. You know, when when food is checking in, your poop should be checking out to get rid of the other food you just had, man. So that lemon water really helps, and really, you know, it's very energetic. Just about any client that I've had, and I've had that into their program, they're thankful for it. They're like, man, I feel so much better, man. And they're not as hungry first thing in the morning. They're ready to go. They have energy, and they haven't even had breakfast, you know, for the most part. And then usually I have them just having a more water-filled, more very hydrating type breakfast. So let's just say I'm gonna have them eat like half a watermelon first thing in the morning, you know, because it's, you know, or just like half a honeydew melon or cantaloupe, and just that's it.
Water, exactly.
And that's it. It fills them up. It has the fiber in it, because of course there are people who are sugar phobes out there who are going to say like, man, that's just too much sugar to have that. I'm like, no, that type of fructose is not high fructose corn syrup. That fructose has fiber, and it's going to slow down that breakdown of that sugar.
And the glycemic load of melons is so low, because I mean, like you said, people are, oh, but it's a lot of sugar per volume. It's almost just water and fiber, you know, and with a little, you'd have to eat a hell of a lot of watermelon to get a lot of sugar out of that.
And guess what? It's going, and once you start breaking it down, it's going out in 2 places at once. Somebody goes, it's full of water, so we know where that's going. And then with all that fiber, we know where that's going. So guess what? That's good. What you're doing is you're really giving your digestive system a break, and it's also giving your stomach a chance to shrink. So you're not sitting there overexpanding it with just a bunch of food that you're not even getting nutrients from. And so, like I said, and you're feeling very upbeat, and you're getting a lot of vitamins in, you know, without having to sit there and pop some synthetic vitamin off the shelf from the grocery store. So that's pretty much how I get them started, man. And then by the time lunchtime comes around, well, guess what? It's 12 o'clock now. Well, look, you've pretty much gone about, 16 hours now? That's an intermittent fast without even putting a title on it. So to me, to get back to your question, my opinion is a lot of times it's just marketing. All these titles, intermittent fasting, and you know, this type of diet and all that type of diet. It's like, you know what? You got to find out what's going to work for you. And my thing is also do your homework and experiment with it. Give it time to work. And too many people are looking for a way, another eating disorder is what I call it. So instead of just doing this, instead of just saying they want to do, you know, the lemonade diet or something like that with the cayenne pepper and all that, the master cleanse, they say, well, I'm going to do intermittent fasting, but they'll talk about the people doing the master cleanse. I'm like, all you're doing is trading your eating disorder for theirs. So you can't really, it's like the pot calling the kettle black here. It's like, no, you're trying to do a bunch of intermittent fasting to lose weight. How about fast to actually cleanse your digestive system, give your body a break from eating all the crap, and then when you come off of it, if you do intermittent fasting for 16 hours and your first stop is Subway, then you're doing it wrong. Okay, you're doing it wrong. What was the point of even fasting in the first place? Honestly, I think that, you know, I'm also a fan of fasting if it's done the right way, because you do need to give your body a break from crap, and you need to test yourself. You need to see how dependent are you on food. Has food now become, is it your fuel or is it your drug? Are you addicted to it? You just have to constantly eat. And sometimes you have to really figure out if is that what's happening. So sometimes I'm like, yeah, do a fast. Take one day out of the week and just fast on water from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. And then if all you can do is think about food, then yeah, there's an issue going on here. But my thing is, if you're really consistently eating nutrient-dense food prior to that fast, then going 12 hours from 6 to 6 really shouldn't be a big issue if all you're doing is drinking water. Your body should be happy about that, and you'll be much more productive. Especially as a business owner, man, I love it when I don't have to sit there and think about food, and I can actually get some work done, but I still have the energy to get it done. That's a good day for me, man. So, I mean, I may go some days I just have like 2 meals that day, or maybe one. As of today, I've only had one, and I'm full of energy, man.
Well,
you know, I've done my podcast, you know.
Yeah, no, I hear you, and it's funny you say that, and I know I agree with you. While we're saying this, there are people watching this tuning out because like, no, I gotta have my 6 meals a day, or I'm gonna catabolize. I just got back from I was at the CanFit conference on the weekend, and Brad Schoenfeld was doing a lecture on nutrient timing, like Nutrient Timing Revisited, and he and Alan Aragon, who's like I respect a lot of the work he does in nutrition. We're talking about nutrient timing, and basically not that saying that eating often a whole bunch of times is necessarily bad, but that it's completely unnecessary, or at least except for maybe you have even made this exception potentially for some elite athletes who are doing multiple training sessions a day or something. Okay, then this might be a case where they need that calorie intake at more regular intervals. But for the average person, especially if the goal is weight loss or for hypertrophy even, eating more frequently than like you said, 4 to 6 hours. They said, you know, if you're eating every 4 or 5 hours or so, that's more than enough to, you don't, and also talking about the anabolic window, like having to eat right before, right after a workout, it's really, it's a lot more flexible than that. If you've eaten something 4 to 6 hours ago, the nutrition is in your system, you're going to access it, you're not going to break down muscle and become, you know, lose all your gains. As long as you're getting the overall calories and nutrition that you need in the day, you're okay. So he totally backed up exactly what you're saying here, and there is science behind that. It's not just your own personal observations. Actually, I'll post a link to that article just below this gym chat too for anyone who's watching and wants some, you know, wants the background, you know, scientifically behind that. But no, I absolutely agree with you there.
Yeah, definitely. And you know, I think talk about distractions. Not even so much about our computers and everything else, but we're so distracted by everyone else's findings, everyone else's program. So we're constantly, oh, this is a good program. We never give something that we're doing enough time to even work, whether it's how we eat or, you know, or, yeah, exactly. So basically like program whores. You know, they just go from one program to the next. You know, it's like, oh, 5, 3, 1. Oh, man, German volume training. Oh, that sounds good. That sounds good. And they're all over the place, man. And next thing you know, oh, P90X, let me just try it so I can talk about it. And all this different stuff is going on. So their bodies are like, dude, what are you doing? Give me a chance already. You know, and the same thing with the way they eat. 1 minute they're paleo, then they're vegan, then they're vegetarian, and then, you know, they're doing the zone diet, and then they're all over the place. And then, you know, but because, you know, they say you should eat this, and they say you should be eating it this time. I'm like, who is Dr. They? That you keep getting all this advice from. And use this Aunt Susie, you know, I was like, look, man, would you go to your physician for, you know, advice by getting your car tuned up? Come on, man. You know, you don't go to a mechanic for heart surgery advice or something like that. So why are you going to your aunt who works at, like, I don't know, well, not even a nursing home. Let's just say she works at Walmart, and she's giving you advice on what type of diet you have. First of all, look at her before you even take her advice. So that's another thing. So you got to find out what works for you, and you got to be patient with that. And you need to document it. So therefore, you actually know if you're not really in tune with how your body is operating, you're going to have to get that food log. You're going to have to sit there and find a way to track what kind of progress you're having. Even when you're training, same thing. If you're not in tune with anything, man, how are you going to know if you're making any improvements other than the fact how you're performing? Now, that's like the surefire way to know if how you're eating and if you're sleeping enough is really working. Look at your performance. If you're going to the gym and you're sucking wind, man, after like the first 10 or 15 minutes and you're just not getting those gains, it may not necessarily be the program. It may be just the way you're recovering. It may be the way that you're eating, the things that you're eating. You know, you may be on a vegan diet and you may not do well with a vegan diet. You might need to get some type of animal protein in your diet because, again, you're not really looking at your DNA. You know, your DNA may call for, you know, your ancestors may have done well just eating meat and vegetables. And they didn't do that well off of legumes. You know, or vice versa. You may be the person that eats all this meat and you're doing paleo, but you are gaining all types of weight. No matter how hard you train, you're getting fat, you know, and you don't understand what's going on. Your body fat's going up, your cholesterol is going up, you know, all your blood pressure is going up. You don't get it. You don't understand because it's paleo. It should be good for you, right? Well, not necessarily for you. It may not be working for you because that may not be in your DNA. You may do better on a vegan or vegetarian diet. So what you really need to do is, like I said, you need to take the time to figure out, hey, is this working for me? Well, let me look at my performance for the past month or two. How's that working? What are my numbers looking like? And I always tell people, get a hormone panel test, man. Get a full hormone panel test. Look and find out where your testosterone is. If you're women, find out where your estrogen levels are, pregnenolone and all this good stuff, man. Just really see where you are. Guys, see where your DHEA is and where your estrogen levels are, and then really take a look at that. But, my buddy Mike Muller always makes a joke on our show that, most guys, when they ask him, like, man, I'm wondering if I'm estrogen dominant, he goes, basically, you don't have to get a test of that for a lot of guys. Just look at them. If they walk around with moobs, and they got a bigger gut and they got hips like a woman, you're estrogen dominant, buddy. Yeah. So you need to make some lifestyle changes. Don't even worry about your training right now and what supplements to take. You need to take a look at other things. What's going on with the job that you're working in, your relationships. Look at, pretty much your sleep patterns and all that.
And beer, like there's food and beer.
Yeah, nice big glass of estrogen right there, beer.
Yeah, exactly.
I tell a guy that they get so upset. They're like, "What do you mean?" I'm like, "Oh, you're worrying about soy, but you're drinking beer every night at the bar." Soy is the least of your worries, man. If you're worrying about your testosterone going low, it's like, look at that beer. I mean, look at the fact you stand up and you're only going to sleep for 3 hours a night. So don't even worry about soy. Soy is not the issue. It's your lifestyle is the issue. So it kind of breaks their heart when I say that.
Oh, it should be motivation enough when they start to see titties in the mirror. That should get them. That should be enough. I mean, a gut is one thing, but once you got man titties, that's time for a change.
Yeah, middies are not cool, man. Keep the middies to yourself.
But so journaling is another. That's a very good suggestion. Document your progress, because often we're not aware of what's happening until we actually start writing it down or start paying attention to how do I feel when I eat this. What has my progress been from this training and this nutrition plan I've been following? And really, just the process of writing it down is creating awareness in and of itself. I always tell my clients the same thing. Not even so much related to recovery, but it definitely applies. But just write it down. As soon as you start doing that, you're going to be aware of your habits around that too. And then blood work and hormones, that's a great suggestion as well. And that, if you can't already tell in the mirror. But just to get that done, this is when referring to doctors might come in handy.
Right.
That's good. So another question related to this, and it might be obvious, but if you can sort of give your take on it, if you want recovery related to performance, and obviously they're related, but a lot of people will be neglecting recovery because all they're focused on is their performance and their gains and how much weight they can lift or how much muscle they're building or how much fat they're losing. So it's all based on their performance or their aesthetics or their physique. So can you make this tie-in really clear for us how recovery relates to your performance or your gains?
Well, my thing is like what kind of performance are you doing? Again, if you're an athlete, it's very dialed in what you're doing. You know what you're doing. So if you're a guy that's, training for MMA and you're spending at least 3 hours a day in the gym, then, you definitely got to, you got to get the proper nutrition in between those training times to keep you fueled. But you also got to know that you got to get some sleep, man, because 3 hours a day, 5 to 6, 7 days a week, you've got to get your butt to sleep. You can't go hanging out the strip club, man, with your buddies who don't even train, and all that other stuff, or hanging out at the bar or something like that. You're going to be a wreck, man. And it's going to affect your performance. Now, if you're just an everyday Joe or Jane, then same thing. You're not that.
Can we hang out at this strip club at lunchtime, maybe? Is that okay? Or?
What, you going to get that getting a steak buffet at the strip club, man, for lunch?
Oh, no. Oh, no.
Oh, no, man. But, so if you're, like I said, if you're just the average everyday Joe and Jane, my thing is, if you just want to sit there and you're training 3 to 4, 5 days a week, you got to, first of all, give yourself, you can't sit there and go hard all 3 to 4 days like that. Or if you're going heavy, with 4 different type of exercises during those 4 days, that next week, you got to back off a little bit. So you might want to go light with, higher reps. So you're looking more at volume. Or you might just want to go about midway with that. So I always do that, a lot of times with my clients, there's a heavy week, then in between those days, it's going to be more body weight type exercises, more joint mobility to kind of help have some active recovery from that heavy lifting you did the day before. So if you did heavy deadlifts on Monday, then we're probably going to do some body weight training on Tuesday. Come Wednesday, we're doing overhead pressing, okay? And again, we might even mix that up with some body weight training, some plyometrics. Just for the fact that we're doing overhead pressing, we can go ahead and go into some plyometrics now. We can do some box jumps or something like that. Now, we're not going to do box jumps like 50 reps for like 10 rounds or something like that. That is so asinine to me that you do something like any type of plyometrics like that for a high volume, high reps, high sets. I'm like, you're an accident waiting to happen. You're gonna destroy yourself.
I'm not aware of any training group that would do that. Oh.
Yeah, I don't even know where I came up with that from, man. Somebody, that's just me thinking outside the box. So, so yeah, man. So then,
we know who does that. Yeah, okay.
So, I might have another day where I don't do anything except walk for an hour, maybe 2 hours, something like that. And then the next day I do squats, and then guess what? Then I do something fun after that day. So I might go do hot yoga. I might go and play like basketball with my buddies, man. Play a little rugby or something like that. Just something fun. And then the next day, nothing at all. And then repeat. That next week, back off a little bit, not going as heavy. And it might go light, so I got a little bit more volume, more high intensity, more HIIT training or something like that, man. And then, by that fourth week, I'm going to the spa. I'm getting a massage. I'm going to the chiropractor. I might go get acupuncture. I'm just chilling. I'm walking for the most part. I might do Tai Chi. Spend more time just going out, man, and just enjoying life, and not so focused on my training. Guess what? I won't lose a thing. In fact, I come back stronger when I start the next cycle of training. It's amazing how that happens. And my sleep is better. Growth hormone's happy. Then I can keep on going, man. So that's pretty much how I would do that. As far as my thing is, I deal more with the everyday person and not athletes as much. In fact, I'd rather train the everyday person. A lot of times athletes, not all of them, a lot of times they're lazy. They're lazy because they really depend on that gift and that talent. They think that's going to be enough, and they feel like they're invincible. A lot of times it's the younger athletes. Now, when they become older athletes, they realize, okay, that was a very screwed up way of thinking back then. So now what do I do?
Now the work ethic kicks in, yeah.
Yeah, it's like, what do I do now, man? Yeah, it was like, what do I do to undo all that stuff I did 10 years ago and all this? I'm like, okay, now we're talking. Now you're ready to listen. You don't know everything now, and I love that. So, because hell, I don't know everything. I'm constantly learning, all the time. So my thing is, when you feel like you have all the answers, you're screwed. You're dead. Okay, because if you're not evolving, you're dying. So you need to pick one. So my thing, if you can't absorb and keep learning, then hey man, what's the point? Just get out of the way.
Yeah,
you take it to matter.
Totally, you could be a know-it-all or a learn-it-all. That's what I always say.
Exactly.
You can't be both. But I think that ties into the journaling as well. And you talked about when you balance this intense training with the planned recovery, you come back stronger quite often. And this is where I think people got to just experience it for themselves. Like the relationship between the recovery and your performance is there. They just got to just do it. Get a solid recovery plan and then look at the results and then journal it. Keep track of it, and that'll be enough evidence for yourself.
Exactly.
I think my next question was like specific recovery techniques, specific suggestions. I think we went through a lot of them already. I just want to run through sort of what we've talked about so far. If there's anything else while I'm saying this that you think of as a specific recovery tool that you've used or you've used with clients that you'd recommend, if you don't mind just adding that onto the list. Like for myself and people have mixed opinions on it, I've used ice therapy or cryotherapy, like cold showers or baths as part of recovery. Some people are like, well, it's too stimulatory, but so something like that. So you've banged on sleep pretty hard. So this is one that's obviously is important. Quality and length of sleep in the 7 to 9 hour range, good quality sleep, and that's one of the biggest ones. You talked about nutrition a little bit, saying that we don't have to eat like 8 meals a day and every 2 hours get something in. If you're having 3-4 meals evenly spaced a day and you're meeting your nutritional needs, and you give your digestive system a break, which is actually an important part of recovery. So that's a good point. Talked about getting nutrient-dense foods, hydration being very important. We talked about lemon water, melons, foods like that, as opposed to really heavy foods in the morning. Reducing stress, you talked about meditative walk is a good suggestion for people to take advantage of with no distractions, leave your phone at home. And also taking enough time off between your workouts. You don't have to train every single day intensely. The journaling, actually write down your nutrition, your training, and your progress, and be aware of what's working for you, and then getting some blood work checked. So that's quite a bit. Was there anything when we went through that, anything else that stands out to you? And one specific question I had around that is, do you recommend supplements, or are there any supplementation that you would recommend to someone that would improve performance or recovery?
Okay, one other thing that I practice a lot is, I said meditative walks, but I also practice meditation itself. And pretty much meditation is pretty much also goes back to what you just said. I know most people think of meditation sitting in the lotus position, saying om or whatever, which there's nothing wrong with that. Sometimes I do that. But just sometimes just sitting in a chair, and being still, turning everything off and just trying to be as quiet as possible in your mind. And guess what? Here's the thing. I know a lot of people say, well, I just can't sit there. I have all this stuff going on in my head. Well, you know what? Let it. Don't try to stop it. Don't try to force it. You start hearing all these things. You got all these thoughts going in your head, and I got to do this, got to do that. Let it come, and then acknowledge it and keep moving. So you sit there thinking like, okay, I got about 20 more minutes. How long is this meditation? Blah, blah, blah. Just let those thoughts come in and come in. Because the one thing about it, it's just like any other style of training. You have to be consistent with it, and you have to. It's a practice. It's a practice. So I always suggest that, and I always tell people, what's a good place for me to meditate? I have all this stuff going on. So the one room in the house where you normally don't have anybody interrupting you is the bathroom. So if you have to go in the bathroom, sit on the toilet, shut the lights off, lock the door, turn on the fan if you have to, so if somebody actually thinks that you're doing something in there and they're pretty much not trying to bother you. And and guess what? It doesn't have to be an hour. 5 minutes will do you a lot. And also naps. One other thing as far as recovery. If you have the opportunity where, let's just say you work at home or whatever, if you can get a nap in, man, go for it. Go for it. Now, I'm not a big fan of people that try to work all hard and stay up all during the week and then they want to sleep in on the weekends. Right. I'm not a fan of that. I think
you can't catch up on sleep. When it's gone, it's gone.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's very detrimental. Just forget about it. So, yeah, I'm not a big fan of that. Now, as far as supplements are concerned, my thing is if your digestive system is jacked up already, you can take all the supplements you want. Hell, you can even eat grass-fed this and all that, man. But if your digestive system is not running the way it can, if you take in 300, and it's funny, Mike and I were just talking about this, if you're taking in 400 grams of protein a day and all you're doing is absorbing 120, then maybe you should eat 120 grams of protein. That's the first thing. And a lot of times, most people are not even absorbing that much because their digestive system is being wrecked because they're constantly eating all the time. And a lot of times, they're eating a lot of crappy supplements. They're taking a lot of crappy supplements and eating a lot of crappy food. So the digestive system is jacked up, and it's not even absorbing any real nutrients. Even when they go straight organic, a lot of times they're still not absorbing all the nutrients because they haven't given their digestive system the time to rest and recuperate and rehabilitate itself, and they don't have the proper probiotics or anything like that to help break things down. So most people end up putting the carriage before the horse. First thing out of their mouth, hey man, what kind of supplement should I be taking? Yep. That's the first question they ask me when they just walk up to them, like, well, first of all, I don't know anything about you. I don't know anything about your training program. I don't even know anything about your lifestyle as far as your relationship, your job, or anything like that. Because guess what? All that plays a big part in what kind of gains you're going to get. So the more I know about you, the better. Anyone that works with me online, they have this nice little questionnaire packet they have to fill out. And I get down to every last thing. Because a lot of times when it comes to these lifestyles, as far as people who yo-yo diet, they can't get a training program to work, or they have to be in the gym every day for 2 or 3 hours, training is not their issue. They got other things going on, and training is a diversion. It's a deflection. It's something that's distracting them from the real issue at hand, whether it be a job that sucks, a relationship that sucks, or them pretty much trying to do something that they know they have no passion for. So it has to be a lifestyle change and a lifestyle optimization choice, and not just nutrition optimization, hormone optimization, or training optimization. It's all those things. So we get down to that. And most people, when they fill out their questionnaire, it's pretty lengthy, but by the time they're answering all those questions, they start to really sit down and think, and they're made aware of some things. They was like, wow, I didn't even think about that. It's amazing. A lot of times people have food issues because it's not because of what's going on now. It's something that happened when they were like 5 years old and they got pushed down in the sandbox and somebody called them a fat pig in kindergarten one time. And subconsciously they've been carrying that all their lives. So now they train so freaking hard that they'll never have someone call them a fat pig again. and so therefore, again, it's just a distraction. But they've forgotten about that. It's just embedded in them subconsciously, and they don't even realize it until somebody brings it up and asks the right questions. So as coaches, we really need to learn how to ask the right questions when we're with our clients, and we usually don't.
No, yeah. Sorry to interrupt you, man, but that's so powerful. I just want to emphasize that. And a lot of the lectures I've attended on different stuff, even business, personal development, they always talk about you're not, as opposed to just trying to regurgitate information at people, ask the right questions, and questions hook the mind. We did this little, here's a question mark, hooks the mind. But yeah, asking the right questions is getting them to answer their own questions, getting them to think themselves. Is because as soon as they come up with it, it's going to stick a lot better than if you try and tell them.
Exactly.
That's a very good point.
So yeah, we need to stop focusing so much on trying to prove how smart we are. Well, obviously they think we're smart because they came to us for advice. So you have nothing to prove right there as a coach.
Right.
Okay, and we need to not focus so much on trying to impose our will upon the potential client or that client that we already have, because what works for us may not necessarily work for that person. So you're trying to impose your program that you've been doing for the last 5 or 6 years or whatever, which that's already questionable. You know, if you're still doing 5-3-1 after this is like what the 10th time you've done it, come on, man. Something needs to happen here. You gotta have some type of evolution or something going on. So all you're trying to do is just impose your program on someone right off the bat without even qualifying them for that. You're already starting off on the wrong foot, and you're doing that person a disservice. And 3 words every coach should get in their repertoire and not be afraid to say. Sometimes you have to say these 3 special, beautiful words. I don't know.
Yeah.
Because, you know, it's okay. In fact, you'll show that you're a lot smarter for the fact you say, you know what, I don't know, but you know what, I'll check into it, or I'll check with some of my buddies and my colleagues, and I'll ask them, and then I'll get back to you, and hopefully, you know, I can find that information for you. You don't have to be the guy to have all the freaking answers. You don't have to be the answer man. Yeah. So it's okay to say, I don't know, and that works with anything, business, training, parenting, relationships, all that. It works. It's beautiful. I think sometimes I don't know is probably more important than those other 3 words. You know? So yeah, man.
Yeah, absolutely. And if more coaches would do this, we wouldn't have a lot of people, as opposed to saying they don't know or they're going to find out, would rather bullshit you. They'd rather just come out of their ass with some made up thing and an explanation rather than find out for real. But no, definitely that's good advice. All right, we covered all. So supplementation related to digestion, you made it pretty clear that wouldn't be the focus. There's a lot of other things going on. Lifestyle is more important. Are there any, something like you talked about digestion is very important. Would you ever recommend probiotics or digestive enzymes, or do you tell people to take D3 if they're not getting the sun enough, anything like that? Or do you think it's just eat a balanced diet, get rest, recovery?
It's a very individual type thing. I would not sit here right now and make a general statement like, you should definitely get a probiotic in your life, because I don't know exactly what you're eating. You may already be consuming a probiotic, and I don't know. So my thing is try, if you can afford to, man, get those tests. See where you are, where you're working from right now, and then you have something to work on, and instead of just sitting there and gambling and just taking a wild guess at it, and just shooting craps the whole time. And sometimes you might be trying to work on something that doesn't need any work. Like, oh, I need to start taking a probiotic. Well, you know what? You may already be digesting things the right way as it is. You might be good, man. Or I need to get more omega-3s. I'm like, well, who's the hell to say that you need to, optimize and get more omega-3s in your diet? Who said that? Where'd you get that from? Well, they say, well, here we go again.
Dr. They, man.
Dr. They, told you that. So, yeah, man. So, again, look at what's going on with your performance. That's your first indicator right there. And you're like, you know what? Something's not right. So, and then you're doing that journal like, you know what? When I eat this, I feel this way. After I train and do this, I feel this way. Mm-hmm. Then you can really start looking back. You can backtrack now. When it comes to sleep, most people are like, man, how do I get 7 or 9 hours of sleep? Well, you always work with the end in mind. So here's the deal. Let's say you have to go to work. You have to get up for work at 7 o'clock in the morning, because you have to be at work at like 8:39 or something like that. If you know that you have to be at work, if you know that you have to wake up for work at 7 o'clock and you want to get 8 hours of sleep, let's work from 7 o'clock on back, which means you need to go to bed at 11 p.m., which means you need to start turning off anything that's going to stimulate you. Turn that off an hour before that. So about 9:30, 10 o'clock, turn off the TV, turn off the phone, get off Facebook. Take that phone away from your bed and first of all, put it in airplane mode. First of all, just for the radiation, because everything's up in the air as far as radiation with our phones and all that. But you know what? Better safe than sorry.
Take the chance, exactly. If it's an issue, then you don't want to deal with it.
Exactly. And move it away from you. My thing is, what's wrong with getting an old-fashioned alarm clock? Why use your phone for your alarm? Just get an alarm clock. Or if you're going to use your phone for an alarm, take that phone, put it across the room, put it on airplane mode, put it on mute, so you don't hear anything. To my ass, that just went off. So, get that away from you. So therefore, you don't have anything that's stimulating you. Check the lights, man. Turn those lights off. And if you're gonna have some lights on, man, check the bulbs. Don't have big 60, 70, 80 watt bulb burning right there by your bed, man. Get something that's really low if that's the case. If you're going to do something like reading to try to get you, to relax. So, a low dim light, read just a little bit if that's what you're going to do. And then guess what, man? It won't take much to put you in that deep, deep sleep. And there are some apps out there as well, man, that, I even tell people to use. There are a lot of binaural wave apps and binary apps and things like that. And there's even like own meditation apps. And what I do sometimes, especially if I've been working late, because I don't get 8 hours or 9 hours sleep every night. Sometimes I'm working late and I've lost track of time. And so let's just say I might end up getting probably 6 hours of sleep. Mm-hmm. Well, first of all, the cool thing is, with my lifestyle that I have now, if I know that I'm going to bed at like 2 o'clock, for some people they say, oh, you're already missing that window for circadian rhythm, and 10 to 2, whatever. Everything, life's not all about these rigid rules. You gotta be flexible because things happen. So let's just say I'm going to bed at 2. Well, guess what? I'm not getting up 6 hours from there. I'm not getting up at 8. I'm not even going to probably get up at 9 o'clock. I'm going to go ahead and reset that alarm for like 10 or 11. Now, here's the experiment I always like to do. I'll set it for, let's say, 8 hours later or 9 hours later. Then I actually want to see if I wake up before the alarm. And that's when I kind of get an indication of how optimized my sleep is. Mm-hmm. A lot of times I end up waking up before the alarm. I end up waking up maybe 20, 30 minutes before the alarm goes off on my phone. And that's when I know, like, okay, things are good. Things are good. I didn't have to sleep the entire 9 hours. I didn't have to sleep the entire 8 hours. I got 7, and I got 7.5, and for me, that's good. If I go through the whole day and I don't need a nap, I'm not feeling run down, then I know things are good. I'm not going to do that every night, but like I said, that was a good indicator because, again, I've taken the time to get in tune with my body to figure these things out and not just get on autopilot and be like, oh, man, I'm tired. I need some coffee. No, you should never need coffee. You should want coffee. Yeah. Okay, you shouldn't have to sit there and put all this crap in it as well. You just like want coffee just for the taste. Yeah. When I say to people like, huh? No, I need my coffee. I said, that sounds like a crackhead. When he says like he needs his drugs, you're no different than he is. Needing something. The only thing I need to do is breathe, okay, and pay taxes because I don't want to go to prison. So that's the whole thing.
That's the sleep habits, like getting that regular schedule, if it's possible, is important. One thing I'm thankful to have in my new gym here is the infrared sauna, and for myself, that's part of my recovery routine. But I sort of combine a lot of things you're talking about. The binaural beats. I have a DVD with that plays that. I put that in the audio in the sauna. I turn the infrared sauna on. It has some heaters in there too, and I do I don't really call it meditation, but I just close my eyes and sit and just listen to the beats. And so I get in the meditation in there. You're getting the relaxation. You're getting the sauna and the rest, and then that knocks me right to sleep. So. Yeah, whatever it takes. I mean, I would never, if I didn't have a sauna to sit in where I think, oh, I'm doing something, I probably would find it very difficult to do something meditative because I should be doing something right now. But here, I've sort of pretended, oh, I am doing something. I'm listening to this thing, and I'm sitting, and oh, this is actually me actively recovering myself. So whatever it takes to trick yourself into making recovery a part of the lifestyle, making sleep and relaxation a part of your routine, you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah, when it becomes very consistent, after a while, when you're busy doing stuff, you're like, oh, man, I need to take time out. I need to take a break. I need to meditate. So that's what happens when you do something consistently. Everything turns itself around 180 degrees. So, like, if I can always tell when I'm like, okay, I need to get back on my meditation schedule or my relaxation schedule, because if I sit there and I'm just, I'm getting irritated, with traffic or something like that, I'm the guy that usually laughs at people in traffic. I'm like, really? You cut me off? Oh, wow. Well, it looks like you were in a hurry to stop. They're running all on your tailpipe. They're on your bumper. Then they get around you, and they're right there, or they're speeding up to a stop sign.
Exactly. You wait until when you get beside them.
Yeah. So and I laugh. I don't even get mad. I laugh at those guys. I'm like, you know what? Because I'm not gonna give them that kind of control over me. Now, when it gets to that point where they're irritating me, it's not their fault. That's something that's going on with me. I need to check myself. I'm like, why did I get snapped? Why did that piss me off? What just happened? So you got to start really practicing on being aware of those things and not just hand it over to someone else and put the blame on someone else. There's enough of that going on with health and nutrition and fitness as it is. We're blaming everyone else. We blame McDonald's because of this. No one put a gun in your head and say, go to the drive-thru. Somebody, McDonald's wouldn't be where it is if it wasn't for you making a choice to want to go there. They didn't sit there and say, come knocking at your door like, hey, open your mouth now with a gun in your head and I'm going to eat this Big Mac. Or I'm going to kidnap your kids. So
Yeah.
that's an unconscious choice that you made. So the thing is, start making more conscious choices, and start really, like I said, being in the moment, not being distracted, being on your phone while you eat, and really sit there and take that bite, put that fork down or whatever you're using, and just sit there and chew that food and really enjoy it. Enjoy it or hate it. She was like, okay, this is really crappy. Why am I eating this? And then guess what? You don't have to keep eating it. Yeah, so you're like, well, I'll end up wasting $3. No, you can waste more than that, but if you keep eating that. So just kick it to the curb, man, and move on. So yeah,
and just being aware of what you're eating. My dad did an experiment with it when I was a kid. There was this one, I can't remember what it was, a really cheap chocolate, not even real chocolate, junk food. But I was not addicted to it, but I loved it. And one day he's like, "You're not eating this is shit you're putting in your mouth, right?" And I was like, "No, it's good." He said, "Just do this experiment." He made me put it in my mouth. He said, "Just close your eyes while you're eating and chew it, and don't swallow it right away. Just chew it and taste it, and really be aware." And he made me do that, which was pretty. And he was not a nutrition guy or anything. He was more like a Zen kind of guy. And I was chewing. I was like, "Oh, this is good. This is good." And then he said, "No, just keep chewing." And I was like, "What the hell am I tasting?" And then I started tasting all the chemicals and crap, and I'm like, "Holy shit, this isn't really that good." It's just. I just wanted to keep putting more, but after that was it. That was the last time I ate that, and that's always stuck with me, and that ties in really strongly with what you're saying, and just that it ties in the whole like being in the moment, and in any situation, but definitely being aware of everything you're doing, being aware of, and just like training. Initially, people often have a reservation, or like it's overcoming that inertia, just getting their ass moving and getting it routine. But if you stick with it, most people, not all, but you will get. Like you'll miss it if you're not training for a while. You're gonna I gotta get my workout in, and that's the point you want to get to. It sounds like with relaxation, taking a time for a timeout or a meditation is you'll feel that agitation settings. I'm really I'm miss my meditation. That's something I made I made that relationship now because this is something for myself. I don't think I'm making enough time for it. That time to really make relaxation and recovery part of my lifestyle because I always tell myself I don't have time for it. There's always something else to do. But that hit home with me. So that's definitely a takeaway I'm gonna take out of this chat. And I think we're coming up to the hour, and we've covered a lot of stuff in today's chat. But if people want to learn more and they want to get in touch with you, you see you have a lot you can offer online if people are in your area. How can people find out more about you and connect with you?
Yeah, you just go to newwarriortraining.com. Just go to newwarriortraining.com, and even if I even hooked it up. Like, if any of your listeners, man, and followers, if you even want to purchase any of the products that I have in my website, man, just use a coupon code I made for you guys. Just put in the coupon code GymChat, and that'll get you 10% off of any of my products, whether it's my bodyweight training DVD, the digital download, or the physical one, my weight management 101 course. For coffee lovers out there, I have these pour drip stands that are created for me from my friends over in Costa Rica, man. So they imported these guys. They handcraft these things and send them over to me, man. They've been doing it just for me, and it gives a great quality coffee. A lot of people have issues drinking coffee. They feel like it jacks their stomach up. A lot of times it's not the coffee; it's actually the beans, and the beans have been just crap quality. So it's not coffee per se, or they put a bunch of crap in their coffee, like all these different creamers with all these chemicals and all this stuff going on, man. So it's not necessarily just that. So like I said, any products I have over there, man, including my digital download, my the book that I co-authored with John Spencer Ellis and a lot of fitness experts, the wellness code, all that. Just type in that coupon code GymChat. That'll get you 10% off of all that stuff, man. So
awesome. Really appreciate that.
No problem.
It's newwarriortraining.com?
Yes.
All right, perfect. I'll make sure that link is down below as well. Any other links that I'll stick with you on after the chat for a little bit, your Facebook page and whatnot. I'll make sure that's all down below as well. So make sure whoever you're watching this, you check it out and do connect with him online. And take advantage of the discount, the coupon, and I will make sure that is down below as well. All right, thanks again, Sincere Hogan. I really appreciate it, man. This is a great chat, and this will be on YouTube very shortly, and I'll make sure I send it out to you.
Awesome, man. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. All right. And once again, this has been Gym Chat number 253, talking with Sincere Hogan. We've just torn apart the topic of improving recovery and performance, and we have a lot of nuggets that you definitely want to check out. I'm going to list the highlights below and get a hold of him for more information on that. And we will be back next week. Until then, stay strong.